Great. Hi, welcome to the Blackletter Brunch. Our guest speaker today is calligrapher and artist Anna Pinto from New Jersey. Anna is going to talk about her piece in Calligraphia. Calligraphia is is Friends of Calligraphy's triennial member show and is on view at the San Francisco Public Library until August 31st. So if you're in the area and you have a chance, I would strongly encourage you to go see it. It's on the sixth floor of the main branch of the San Francisco Public Library. Um, Big thanks for Calligraphia are also due to the Book Arts and Special Collections Department of the library, in particular to Andrea Grimes, who is the head librarian of the Book Arts and Special Collections Department. Um, Anna is going to talk about how she planned her calligraphy piece and the ideas around creating it. And your piece is very special and thought-provoking. We'd love to hear more about it.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. I was very flattered to be invited to the brunch to talk about my piece. And I have about 25 slides and I've timed it. It takes about 20 minutes. So there's plenty of time. If you have questions, feel free to interrupt, or however, Raul, you usually work that. And I'll also talk about a little bit about my other work, which sort of affected this piece. So may I start sharing, Raul?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me share your screen.
Okay, so some of you may have seen the piece in the show, and I thought I'd talk about the kind of lettering that inspired this collage and also the quotation. So Rudolf Koch's Neuland has always been a favorite of mine. Its chunkiness, its graphic power, I just love it. And it particularly lends itself to stencils and cutout letters just because it doesn't have very many hairlines, or no hairlines, I should say. And it's kind of perfect for that. The quotation I used is an aphorism that I read in an article about the assemblage artist Betty Saar. Here you see her in her home studio and some of the things that she collects in her studio. Those are photos by a photographer named Max Hemphill. They were from the article in the New York Times. She is 97. She's still working, and she grew up in the Depression, and her grandmother always used this aphorism: use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. And I thought, what a perfect, pithy saying for our times in this consumer-oriented, wasteful world we live in these days. And I thought, oh, good, it's short too. So it would lend itself to a collage with letters. So last year I took a class through Calligraphy Italia with Leva Corneel, who some of you I'm sure know, the Belgian calligrapher and designer. And it was about using letters in collage, which I had never done. I'd done collage before, and I've certainly used letters before, but I'd never made a collage with letters. So I took the class and it was incredibly challenging. It was really great, but it was really, really challenging. And she had us do a certain number of exercises like this one, where we used, I think it was a limited palette and papers of about the same weight. And another one, I don't have photos of all of the exercises we did. Another one was cutting images out of magazines that were colorful and using those as our letters.
Hmm.
And this was a catalog I had from a Swedish designer, Gudrun Sjöden, I think her name is. And her clothes are very colorful. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. So once I had all of the letters down, I thought, well, imagine a world without color. Um, but it was quite tricky because you have to think about the colors that are next to each other. You have to think about the shapes, how they relate to the background, also the colors, so they don't recede into the background. And then there's also the problem of little tiny areas. You don't want to have too many small areas that are sort of dead space. Um, so as I said, it was quite a challenging class to take, but I enjoyed it very much. And when I came across this aphorism, I decided that that would be a good way to experiment with the technique. So I assembled a bunch of swatches of paper that I had lying around, paste paper that I had done some watercolor experiments, Japanese papers, and I thought, well, maybe I need a structure. So I thought, well, there aren't very many repetitive letters. So there were three E's. So those, I used this Japanese paper, and there were two A's. So I used the same paste paper for those letters. And since I was kind of just, sorry, fooling around, um, I didn't take very many process photographs, and they weren't intended to be. This was really so that I could figure out where to put the connecting words between these action words: use, wear, make, do. And once I had these sort of roughly laid out, I took a photograph. And actually, you can see here um, some stencil letters, and those I had made for um, a project that I did some years ago, and I kind of based these letters on those stencils. So once I had the photo and printed it out, I started fiddling around with the connecting words. And originally I had thought I would use pen and ink or gouache, but then that somehow, I don't know, it seemed too fussy or precious. I don't know. So I thought, well, maybe colored pencil. I think I also thought there's more that can go wrong once I have the letters glued down. Yeah, I thought this is getting too complicated. So I thought, well, let's try colored pencil. And I was also planning to use some pastel dust in the background. So I thought it would kind of give it a slightly softened look with the pencil and the pastel dust. So once I had the general idea, I think you can see the letters were not glued down yet. In the past, I've used PVA and methyl cellulose as gouache, sorry, collage glue, but Leva recommended matte medium, which was very handy because you don't see it once it dries. So you didn't have all these little globs of glue. Of course, when I did actually glue them down, they shifted. And that was not always a happy experience. Um, so once I had it glued down, I thought there are too many little areas that look empty, or it didn't look balanced to me. So I cut out some sort of confetti pieces and put them around, and that seemed to adjust the spacing somewhat. And I punched up the pastel dust in the background, that sort of cloud, to echo the orange color in the W and in the K, which is also, that's a Hahnemühle Ang paper, and that's what the background is as well. And I think I used Hahnemühle Ang for the backing itself, which was a mistake because it was too thin for the collage. And as you can see, it kind of buckled because some of the paste paper was on Arch's text wove, and it was just too heavy for the Ang paper. So my enthusiasm for Koch's Neuland started a long time ago. My very first calligraphy workshop was with Nancy Colmoni, and the topic was Neuland, and that must have been in the early 80s. And this card on the left was a series of holiday cards I did based on lines from Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. And so that was the first opportunity I had to try out Neuland-esque lettering. And then a few years later, I had started my snow theme, and I've done 30 plus years of snow themed holiday cards.
Mhm.
And this one was from a book by Harriet Durr, Stones for Ibarra, and it was about snow falling on a little Mexican town for the first time in history. And I thought I would do something that suggested a Mexican paper cut. And again, sort of Neuland-esque lettering is great for paper cutting. And so I was able to indulge my interest in chunky letters. A few years later, I had been reading Anne Morrow Lindbergh's Gift from the Sea, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. And I had taken a class with Barbara Brini, a calligrapher from Iowa, in using pastel dust, which she does very often in her work, in actually very large areas of the composition. So I cut the stencils that you saw that little sliver of in the beginning for the letters, and maybe I did a dozen variations on what I felt was the essence of the book, and it was the words patience, faith, simplicity, solitude, openness, and intermittency. This was another variation. And I used Rembrandt soft pastels, which have a wonderful texture and range of colors. And they're very, very pleasant to work with. This was another piece, more whimsically shaped letters. And I have a feeling again that it looked empty when I'd finished it. So what can I do? So little confetti pieces again to, balance out the holes. I think I tend to, sorry, I'm going backwards. I don't always plan things out to the very end, and sometimes I discover I need to help the piece in some way. And I kind of enjoy the challenge and the anxiety and the improvisation of trying to fix something that I think isn't working. And I found that very often I wind up with a piece that I think is better than what I actually had in mind. But it's not always easy to be open to that. Um, in 2007, it was around the time of the um, subprime mortgage crisis. It was not a happy time. And I thought, I print out 400 cards every year, or I used to, not so many anymore. And I thought, I have all this paper lying around, beautiful paper. Why don't I make a project of making 500 collages? I'll do 10 a day. I'll use up all of my watercolor paper. I'll use up all these beautiful scraps of lace paper and Japanese paper and watercolors that didn't work and stuff like that. So these are just a grouping of some of the cards. So each day I had a different palette of papers, and I chose 4 papers every day. And one of them was always a lace paper, as you see here and here and here. And then the fifth element was the quotation. And the quotation is, "I love snow and all the forms of the radiant frost," by Shelley. And that I photocopied onto paper again that I had lying around. And so each day I would start with a new set of colors and papers and continue that way. This is one that I sent to Susie Taylor at the library, and it got somewhat abraded, as you can see, the lettering. Sometimes the toner rubs off, and that happened here, but that's the chance you take when you send things through the mail. And with each card, I put in a little slip that explained the process, and I'm not sure how legible it is, so I'll read it. Calligrapher lost under avalanche of paper. Sometimes I feel buried under thousands of scraps of paper, watercolor paper, lace paper, marbled paper, remnants too beautiful to throw away. So this year, instead of printing up 400 plus holiday cards on yet more paper, I decided to use those scraps and satisfy a long-standing urge to make collages. I hope you enjoy the results, not to mention the change in headline, "Holiday cards found under avalanche of paper." So the next few slides are just a few of the different palettes. Some of these papers were from a class with Brody Neuenschwander, where we used rice paper and lino ink. And again, I had scraps of those lying around. And I think this down here was some of that, I forget what they call it, inside envelopes to block, so you can't see what's inside. They used to use it for check envelopes, and they were often unusual patterns, and I saved some of those. And then the next project, more collages. This was around 2011, and my husband and I were spending a lot of time in Nice, France. And I had been reading a novel by Colette called Break of Day. And it's about a woman who lives in the south of France near Saint-Tropez. And it's during the 20s and 30s when Saint-Tropez was a little fishing village and not the international jet set place that it is now. And her descriptions of the sea and the landscape and the flowers and trees and scents were so, I was really taken by them. And so I decided to make another series using this quotation, "The night scented fragrance of the pines will soon dissolve into the rising sun." And I did the same method of, I made 5 in each group with a particular palette of papers. And it was the same thing. I chose four types of paper, and then the quotation, which I printed out in different colors depending on the color palette of each group. I printed it out on rice paper on my inkjet printer. This was another one of the color palettes. And another. And then this one, this is a detail. This is a detail of one of the groups. And I mounted the 5 pieces I did on watercolor paper and made a kind of accordion fold out of them. So this is one group of 5 pieces. And then, since I always seem to be revisiting quotations, this is the Shelley quote that I used on the holiday cards, but I wrote this directly on the paste paper I was playing with. And the white paper is a Japanese paper that has all these reflective fibers in it that I like very much. And I think I spattered it a bit with white paint. And here we are back again. So it was very nice to be asked to do this talk, Raoul, because I hadn't really thought about how all of these enthusiasms of mine, the Neuland lettering, the pastel dust, and the collage, all seem to come together here. So it was very illuminating for me, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
It was very interesting to learn about all of your techniques and also to see your other collages. You work those in very well to the talk, and
Thank you.
and the different materials, the different papers you use. What a project to put together 500 or so collages for
It was very absorbing, and I have never done it again, but I really enjoyed doing. Actually, the thing that I realized after doing that was I have to cut down my holiday card list because it was just too much. But it was a wonderful project, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I was able to do it. But and all of those were quite small. I would say, 4x6 max, but mostly smaller. And the same with the collages that I did of the Colette quotation. Those were all about 4x5, I think. So I tend to work small.
yeah.
And
And his piece will be on display at Calligraphia until August 31st. So if you'd like to see it in person, feel free to go to the San Francisco Public Library. It's on the 6th floor of the main branch, right next to the Book Arts and Special Collections Department. It's a great show. Even I have a piece in there.
Even you, Raoul, of course you have.
If I can say,
Why
actually,
did you say that?
actually,
Don't
the
be
show
so
will be
modest.
up through the 2nd, because we're not taking it down until the 3rd. This is
Oh.
Meredith.
Could
Okay.
you
Um,
stop sharing?
yeah,
Anna, could I ask you a question?
sure.
I'm intrigued by the use of pastel dust, and I'm wondering whether when you use that, do you then do anything like spraying to fix it, or do you just leave it?
No, I really hate pastels actually because of that. It gets all over the place. And the joy of doing the pastel dust is I use a a piece of old t-shirting material that isn't particularly linty.
Mhm.
And I rub it on the pastel and then I kind of rub it into the page and it gets ground into the page so thoroughly, it doesn't really come off. Generally I use a double, not a double mat, but a spacer so that, there's no chance that whatever the glass or plexi will attract the whatever dust there is, but I haven't had much problem with that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's also when you collage with the matte medium, do you put the matte medium down first and then lay things on it and then go over, or do you just put them down and then put the matte medium on and it adheres through the paper?
and no, I think I put it on the back and then put it down, I think. As I said, it's so,
Yeah,
That
your
would make sense.
collages are so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's funny how they all seem to be landscapes. I mean,
Why
not
not?
necessarily intentionally, but it's kind of thrilling to work with such beautiful paper too. And
They
see where it goes.
really appeal to me. I've done Raoul and Barry will testify to my book of scraps, which has been shown on
Mhm.
BLB. And that was using up boxes of bits that I can't bear to throw away. So I enjoyed seeing your pieces very much.
Yeah, thank you.
A
And you
technique after
inspired
my own heart.
and you inspired me, Anna, as you know, because when I saw those cutout letters, I started making some birthday cards with cutout letters, and it was so
Yes.
much fun.
It
And
took,
what I use though to tape them down is I use that archival double-sided tape and I lay it down on the back of like the letter and then I cut around it and then peel off and then stick it down and there's no mess. There's no any glue can't come out with that. And if you
but
use
aren't the edges, don't they kind of come up? No?
no, because it's
Oh, I
all
see. It covers the whole letter.
covers the whole letter and then with an X-Acto you cut out around where the backing, does that make
Now,
sense?
which tape is this actually?
It's a 3M tape. In fact, I just sent Judith the link and she's using it all over the place because I was using a lot of thin papers like those Amity Parks papers and any kind of glue might make those buckle. So this stuff is just flush with the paper
Right.
and you can stick it on and then cut around and
Uh-huh. That's not the stuff that it looks like when you rub rubber cement and it comes
no,
off
no, no,
and
no, no.
this
This
is
comes
something
in a
else.
roll. It's
Is that
I could
it? What Barry has?
yes, I think so. Yeah, 3M. Let me grab mine and I can give you the number.
Thank you. Because Barry, isn't that stuff the stuff that's kind of,
Show it.
it
Show
rubs
it.
off?
Yeah, with your finger, you can just run your finger over it and it will peel off.
No, but the stuff itself, isn't it kind of like old rubber cement, as you,
I
No,
don't think so.
No?
I don't think
no,
so.
this is mine and it's got this slick kind of
Right,
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 and then
Double-sided tape.
yeah,
yeah,
and
right.
you lay it down, it's real easy to lay it down like on a cutting board
right.
over the letter and then you flip it over and you just use a scalpel to cut around.
Right.
It's real clean. And then when you peel it off, you've just got this wonderful, so thin that you can't even
Mhm.
thing. And it's real sticky.
Yeah, yeah.
It comes in two widths, as far as I know.
I have
This-
three. I have
Oh,
an
three.
inch, a half inch, and actually an
This is, I think, 3/4.
yeah. Yeah, this is made by 3M.
3M.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff I have, it tends to like ooze out from under the edge and then you have these little pieces that you have to pull off.
Yeah.
It looks
No
like
problem, no
old rubber
problem with this.
cement. So it must be just a different kind of
Yeah.
tape.
Yeah, I got this at like those archival
Right.
methods.
Yeah,
that catalog.
I'll try it. Thank you.
It's well, Judith is having, this is a mutual friend of ours, is she was having trouble gluing collages and she asked about this and now she's gluing things down and having a great old time. So, you know, and
So we
when
all help
Amity,
each other. Yes.
yes, so Amity Parks makes, you guys all know her dyed thin papers. Well, I was using a lot of those. And I found that if I used glue, they would buckle or they would pull on the paper. And
Mm.
so I started using this stuff and it made the collage pieces so flat that there was almost, you know, it was almost flush with the base paper.
Because there's no moisture involved anywhere. It
Mm.
just goes straight down, you know,
Right.
dry glue.
Yeah,
One thing it wouldn't work with is that lace paper.
exactly. I
Right.
was thinking
That, and that's a
Right.
trick to, because it sticks to itself and, you know, you have to kind of pull it apart and lay it down very gently, but
wouldn't.
that's very satisfying too.
I was going to say though that the moisture that was created in your piece for the show, it made a radiating thing that actually illuminated
Yes,
it.
I intended that to happen, actually.
I know you did.
Actually, there was an exhibition of Georgia O'Keeffe's watercolors at the Museum of Modern Art last year, I think. And she had a watercolor she had done on that Japanese gampi paper. Are you familiar with that? It's beautiful and it's shiny. And
Mhm.
that buckled like crazy, but it was great. I mean, it looked, so I like to think, I'm in good company.
Do you get the tape from Archival Methods or do you get it from some other vendor?
I get it directly from Archival Methods because, and the number, if you want to write it down,
Sure.
is number 415D as in dog, CW 2214800. And it's a 3M product. And, you know, I mean, I have to say, this is where you get, when you go to 3M, you get a better product because I've had other companies, it's not as
Yeah.
good. It's not cheap, but it works.
Blick also carries it.
Hmm.
Yes, Blick carries it too. You're right. You're right.
Lick, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
I think a roll like this was about $17.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It lasts quite
It
a while.
lasts a long time. Yeah.
it does.
And what I generally do, after it's on the page, I then lay a piece of plain paper on top of the page and go over the whole thing with varnishes to make sure it really, really adheres well. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anna, how do you adhere the lace paper?
Very carefully. That was also one of the advantages of working that small. They were about 4 by 5 and I was using tiny bits of lace paper. So it wasn't too difficult to, maneuver it into place. And then it was as though it was, part of whatever paper was underneath. But when you start using large pieces, that's when you really get into trouble. It's kind of like using a tape gun where it sticks to itself or saran wrap or
Doesn't
whatever.
bear thinking about.
So
Yeah.
with the matte medium then on the lace paper, that would dry hard, so it's not going to be glue coming through.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But that could get pretty wobbly.
Exactly. Well, that's the advantage of using small pieces.
Yeah.
Because I did try it once with a large piece and it took 3 of us to get it in place,
Yeah.
I think that was Barry, that was at Brody's class in Bruges.
Hmm.
I don't know if was anybody else there, maybe Lily or I think a bunch of the San Francisco crew were there.
So Anna, you find the matte medium to be easier to work with than PVA and methyl
Well,
cellulose?
actually,
I would
I
think
didn't have
so.
any trouble with the PVA, but I thought, well, let me try the matte medium. And it's invisible when it dries. And I'm not sure that the I think maybe I had to be more careful with the PVA and the methyl cellulose.
Well, that would be thicker than the matte medium
Well,
anyway.
you thin it. You have to thin. So
Yeah.
I think I used PVA and then 1 part PVA, 2 parts methyl cellulose. So it was quite thin. Thinner than I would use if I were doing some sort of book.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
project. Uh, yeah.
Tell
Any
us
other-
more.
What else do you want to know? Well, I'm really sorry I can't see the show.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed because it looks wonderful in all the photos I've seen.
Yeah,
And
It
I
is.
can't see it either.
and I congratulate the Friends of Calligraphy on their 50 years. It's quite an accomplishment.
It
Good
is.
work and good friends.
Yeah.
I'll have to say it's been just really a wonderful summer. We had the last demo yesterday, which was interestingly, it was Dean Rubino and Dorothy Yuki doing block letters. And I think yours was one of the pieces that they showed in their slideshow, Anna.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
but they went through and had slides of all kinds of block lettering, including some of the Hans Schmidt pieces that are in the Harrison collection and
Oh, nice.
others. And then they had this fun thing where they actually gave people materials to be able to make some stamps of block letters.
Oh,
But
that's nice.
it's been like, I think there were 10 demos over the course of the summer. And in Calligraphia, there are 89 different pieces. And let's
Wow.
see who, your piece, Lily has a piece,
Wow.
Carrie has a piece in it, Louise and Evelyn. Um, I think I think that's it for the people who are here. Well, and of course, Raoul.
And you, Meredith?
And yeah, mine
Good.
is a little less usual than what I would normally do, but yeah, I have a piece. And it's been just it's been a fabulous summer. And it was amazing also because this year the library had all new exhibition staff. Everybody had retired or gone on to had to move away. And it turned out to be just wonderful to work with all the new people. So it was good. Yeah.
It's such an undertaking.
It is, but I was marveling yesterday when I went up to just walk around the exhibit, how amazing the different cases came together and like they got put together with color and texture and just attention to the overall design of the case. But then when I was going through them, you read what is on various things and you go, oh my gosh, there's this synergy there among the words of one piece to another and how they progress. And that just happens. And it's part of like what you were saying about when you do your pieces and you don't know how they are going to end up. And then there end up being these amazing surprises and things that were better than you had imagined when you started out. It's part of what I consider the magic of putting together the exhibits. So.
Mm. Yeah, I've always told students when they are working on something and I see them like crumpling it up and wait, wait, don't throw it away. See if you can fix it. Because often, I think we follow the same path often. And if you try to push it beyond, if you're so fed up with something that you don't care what happens, then you're much more likely to come up with something new and interesting to yourself and to everybody else. They don't always take my advice, but
Well, sometimes it's hard to, you give that advice to students and then you have to remember to do it yourself.
Right.
I was working on a
Said
book.
Louise.
I was working on a book recently and I had this incredible idea of what I was going to do. And I also had an idea that it might go in this exhibit. And I got so tight that I screwed up the very first page.
Mm.
And I decided to forget about the exhibit and just work with what I had. And I had so much fun and it was different than I ever thought it would be, but I had fun and I didn't care. And then it started turning out great. But
Mm.
the minute I was trying to make it something for something, I just got that thing you get,
Mm.
But the
Yeah.
book was already made and the paper was already sewn in. I couldn't like start over, and so I just went for it. And so it's never going to go in that show, but it's
Yeah.
a book I like.
Yeah.
Follow
Well,
your.
you can try for 3 years from now.
There you go.
Well, the show was a book, had to have stitching in the book. And I ended up having no stitching in the book because when I did this one part, I realized stitching wouldn't fit. And so, and plus I had screwed up the first page and had to make some repairs.
Mm.
It happens.
It happens.
Mm.
We get too precious sometimes about.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think what Hannah's shown, which is something that I've thought often in the past, that if you look at a piece that you've finished, I mean, this is the question of what do you do when you finished your piece, but you've got holes in it? And that's when you get the confetti out, or you think of a way of using the skills and the ideas that have been in your head for years. What can I do with this to make it that bit special, but that bit different? And I think that's what marks out somebody who is content with finishing something and then putting it away. But the difference between that and just pushing it just that little bit further and thinking carefully and using tracing paper first before you commit yourself, just to add those little tiny bits of details which can suddenly make the things alive. And that's what I felt about the pieces that you put the bits onto, because they suddenly looked like they were fizzing and really alive and bouncy.
Actually, that's interesting what you say, because, I was saying that I do that with my students, and sometimes they're not at a point where they have all of that
No,
background and,
just
little bag of tricks that they can call on to fix something.
yes,
So that's
exactly.
a very interesting point.
It
actually.
takes years to accumulate all
Yeah,
these things
yeah.
and then be able to draw on them. I mean, you
Mhm.
might just have them, but forget about them.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
And with collage, like you could put those pieces down
Yeah.
and decide, the other caveat is thinking, oh, I'll just do one more thing. And then that thing is in paint and you went, oh man, why didn't I just leave it? So it's that knowing when to stop and knowing when to keep going. And
Right.
that's where, like Margaret said, is the experience,
Yeah.
you stay with it, you don't
Mhm.
come back to it and look at it again. And yeah.
Experience and using tracing paper so that you don't ruin it. I mean, that's just me being pessimistic, I think.
Anna, what is the artist's name again? You said there was an article about her in the New York Times. It was Judy.
Oh, Betty,
Betty.
Betye, Saar, Saar. She
Thank
had a big exhibition at the Los Angeles County Museum. Is that what it's called? A one-woman show. Her stuff is really wonderful, and it's often very political. But she collects things and then makes these wonderful assemblages out of stuff she finds, and if you have access to the New York Times, you could look for that article because it was quite interesting and I didn't know anything about her before. And then I was wondering how to pronounce her name because I wasn't sure because it sounds sort of Dutch. And so I thought, well, you never know. But I went online and there's a little interview with her on one of those morning shows. And I guess it was around the time of her exhibition. So you might like to see it. She's tiny, tiny woman, because in the photo she looks very imposing, but she's actually quite small.
Thank you.
Getting back to doing a piece and you're not sure at the end that it might be missing something, I very often adhere to the great wise words of Da Vinci to leave it for a few days, don't look at it all, and then go back.
Mm,
And I generally do small pieces for myself. I rarely do anything large. One of the advantages is because it's easy enough to redo it when it's very limited text. But I will simply put it away for a week or two, sometimes a month or two, and then go back and just see it with totally different eyes and different ideas. But I also find that when I redo it, it very often winds up looking the way I had initially planned it, but yet there are differences.
mm,
Yeah, I find that, yeah, just stepping away from it for a while, or maybe even just leaving it out, but so that you just look at it once a day. And after a while you see flaws in it, but then you like it, and you like certain things, and there are other things you don't like about it, and then you can
Well,
try to.
sometimes you don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
mm.
So, um, did anyone else have questions for Anna?
No, just a big thank you.
Yes,
Well, thank
Yeah,
you all for
thank
coming.
you.
I enjoyed this very much.
it's great.
It's
And thanks for the
wonderful.
great questions and comments.
Adventures in Neuland.
Neuland and
Oh,
beyond.
last question. Did you
Mm.
take pictures of all of the 500 that you did?
No, I kept one from each day. So I have 50 that were from each palette. No, I would never. My God.
You'd
No, I
still
didn't
be
take
doing
pictures.
it now.
Yeah, but I did save one. I kept one so I would have a record of the whole project, one from each of the 50 days. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, Ro, for hosting. And happy 50th and
Yeah.
hope to see you in person one of these days, someday.
Yeah, well, I have to come to San Francisco
Yeah, it's been a while.
or maybe the East Coast sometime.
Yeah, that would be great.
Field trip.
Next
Sorry,
Black
Rebecca.
Okay.
The next Blackletter Brunch will be on Sunday, September 21st at 10 a.m. The speaker for that meeting is to be determined still. If you feel like giving a presentation, please let me know. I love to get new presenters. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ro.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
Take care.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.